Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance and Main Lube Lubricants. G'day, I'm Fletch, and this is Classic Restos. It's the classic car show that showcases vehicles from yesteryear. These are the lucky ones. These vehicles have survived. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Australia's most favourite classic car show, Classic Restos. G'day and welcome to another episode of Classic Restos, and it's a very happy new year to you as we roll through Series 18. Of course not possible without the continued support of Shannons Insurance and Main Lube Lubricants. You know, there's no doubt about Shannons Insurance. They take an interest in what we stand for. Now, whether you're already with Shannons or if you are not, why not pick up the phone, give them a call and find out the many advantages that you will receive by being with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons Insurance a call on 134646. You can also visit Shannons online at www.shannons.com.au. And while you're there at their website, you can see catch-up episodes of Classic Restos as well. Then, of course, there's Main Lube Lubricants. How cool is this? You know, you can send away an 80ml oil sample and receive a report. Now, the report may come back fine, and if that's the case, great. But if not, you can then get yourself a product that will reduce the wear and sustain reliability. When you get a sec, go to mainlube.com.au, pick up the phone, give them a call, have a little bit of a chat, because your engine, gearbox, transmission and diff has to be cared for. Protect your investment. Now, whether you like your Fords, your Valiants, your British cars or your Japanese cars, I'm sure you'll have to admit that there's something very special about Australia's first Holden. This is the 48215. The 48 standing for its launch in 1948 and the 215 representing a 2.15 litre engine, or 138 cubic inches. On the 29th of November 1948, 1,200 men, women and Prime Minister Ben Chifley stood around the first Holden. It was a completely new six-cylinder sedan destined to become Australia's first successfully mass-produced car. Although adapted from an American design, it was built almost entirely here in Australia. The 45 kilowatt grey engine proved a remarkably durable plant, and the price when new, £733. The FX Holden, what a legacy. It weighed in at just under 1 tonne, and buyers back in the day boasted speeds of up to around 80 miles an hour, or around 130 k's. And when the little Strongberg carburettor was treated nicely, up to 30 miles to the gallon was achieved. 30 miles to the gallon. That's pretty good fuel economy, even in today's terms. Well, here we go. 21st FX FJ Holdens Nationals, first cab off the rank. Pardon the pun. Welcome to the show, Peter.
G'day, Fletch. How are you today? Mate, where's your hat? You're missing your hat, aren't you?
Tell me about it. Left the hat beside the bed, up on the bed head. Will you believe that?
Oh, well, that's the way it goes.
When you get up at 3:30 in the morning, something sometimes has to give.
It does, sure does. Yep.
Now, Peter, this car here, classic example, the 48215. Look, this is where it all began for Holden. I mean, there's something special about Australia's first car. You own it. What's it like to drive?
Well, Fletch, I owned one when I was a young fellow living here in Bathurst. I always wanted to get one and restore it. They are hard to drive compared to a modern day car with power steering and...
but back when they were brand new, you would have been king of the street.
Oh, to have a Holden back in the early days was, yeah, you're king of the street, correctly, rightly so, because people used to put an order in and wait for 12 months for them to receive one, other than buying an English car, because they're Australian, Australian made. That's what they wanted.
I mean, the thing is too, I mean, based on an American design, Australian made, you know, it just went upwards from there. I mean, we also then had the Series 2 Holden with the FJ, and the legacy just continued so strong.
Oh, yes, no, you know, if you see them, if you go to Holden shows and you see the progression through the years, it's amazing how they've come on, and the improvements that they've made.
How many years have you had it, Peter?
I've had this car for about 7.5 years. Fully restored it when I retired. When I bought it, it was a going concern. We drove it around, did car rallies for for many years was painted green, had green vinyl seats, which is completely wrong for the car.
Yeah, about to say that's nice.
Yes, and I said, well, when I retire, this car has to be restored. I brought it back to original, black with red leather upholstery.
Mate, you know, one thing that trashes cars is multiple owners. It's just so nice to see in this example that so many people have owned the car, and here it is sitting here, fully restored. Looks absolutely glorious, and it's a credit to you. Great to have you on the show, Pete.
Thanks very much, Fletch. Thank you.
Next up on the show, we have Tony. How are you, Tony?
No worries. Good, mate. How are you, Fletch?
I'm pretty good. How you going? You all right?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, having a good day.
Yeah, bearing up under the strain?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Have a go at Tony's car here. Love it or hate it, but where I give him admiration is the level of cleverness. Now, we're talking FX Holden, we're talking 1953, just before the FJ. What inspired you to cut a car up and do this?
I got an original 48, so I wanted something different, and I always wanted a V8 in them. So I've had FJs since I was 13, and this is how it turned out. It's,
how have you done the front guards? Like, I mean, how did you extend them? Is it all Holden?
it's all Holden, yeah, it's all Holden. It's all steel. It just trial and error.
I bet it was a lot of error.
Yeah, a lot of error, a lot of swearing, and a lot of grinding and cutting. And
Mate, the stacked headlights, how did you do that?
you just got to persist, take your time, persist. If it's not right, cut it off and do it again.
Yeah.
There's no real trick to it.
The level of cleverness, this is, I've said this many times before on the show, it's okay to do a resto, it's okay to get an original car, tear it to bits, repaint it, put suspension, rebuild the engine, put it all back together again. But when you start doing stuff like this, it's another level. I mean, even the dash cluster around the dashboard, even that copped it. You've got two of those and welded them together.
Yeah, I had always wanted the 2FJ look, and they're a cast aluminium, so I didn't know whether you could do it or not, but obviously you can weld them together. But
Mate, under that Holden hat there and those glasses, you're a clever little dude, aren't you?
yeah, well, I suppose so, but
Mate, you know, it's like it's an FX Holden on steroids. I mean, it's extended in every way, out through the rear quarters as well. Double dash cluster, extended front guards, stacked headlights. I mean, there's just no limit.
yeah, well, I wanted to build something that people could look at and enjoy.
Well, just quickly too, you said you wanted a V8 350 Chev.
Yep, it's a 350 Corvette motor, an 88 Corvette motor.
So it goes all right too.
Yeah, it goes good, stops good. Yeah, it's the main thing. I like.
Before I go, what are the seats out of?
Seats SS Commodore. All the trim in it is Commodore. So we change it to HSV, in like material and stuff. But yeah, it just goes to show people that if you want to change a car and customise it, take your time, you can do it.
Great words of advice. Thank you very much, Tony.
No worries. Thanks, Fletch.
When it comes time for classic vehicle and home insurance, make sure that you're with the company that's the best in the business. Their website is awesome. There's insurance information. You may sign up and become a member of the Shannons Club. And not only that, you can also watch catch-up episodes of Classic Restos. What an excuse to get into the shade. Hey, John, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, good, Fletch. How you going?
Good, mate, good. Oh, I'm in love. I'm in love with your car.
Fantastic. I love to see people that appreciate it.
I like you, John, but not in love with you.
No, fair enough. Yeah, no. It's great to see you here appreciating all the FJ Holdens. It's a...
FX FJ Nationals, I mean, two of the most iconic Holdens ever made. This is stunning. Now, obviously, you've restored this, every nut and bolt. Tell us the deal there.
Well, I bought it 15 months ago as a complete wreck and decided to dedicate 15 months of hard work and took it back to nothing and started building it. So, yeah, and this is the result after 15 months of hard work. I can't tell you how much money I spent. That's a bit embarrassing because the wife's listening, but no, it's been fantastic and very rewarding at the end of the day.
The thing is, every cent you've spent is here in front of you, so it's not wasted.
No, and we built it up to complement the caravan, which we tow around the vintage caravan shows. And
what gets me too, John, a commercial vehicle. I mean, a panel van. caravan. I mean, these things were trashed.
Yeah, well, that was a problem. And I mean, the good old days when they used them as surfing wagons and then they trashed them. And so that's why they're very scarce. They're very hard to get, and probably looked for about 10 years to get what I thought was a half reasonable.
It's interesting too, 20 years ago, you would have looked at an FJ Holden or FX Holden and looked the other way.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I mean, back in the 70s, if you saw someone driving around in one of these models, you think, oh, that poor guy, he's got the bum out of his pants, he's poor.
That's right. Yeah, well, it's interesting coming up, Fletch. We pulled in a country town. An old bloke came up to me and he said, I had one of those. He said, I cut the back out and used it as a shooting wagon. And that's what happened to 50% of them, wasn't it? So that's why they are so scarce. And I guess that's, yeah, they're collectible now, and it's like all the older cars.
Love it, John. I really do. I mean, your attention to detail, even the Strongberg car, reconditioned, the grey engine looks magnificent, the wiring's superb, beautiful paint, beautiful interior. Mate, it's awesome.
Oh, thanks, Fletch. Appreciate your thoughts.
Time for Chris. How are you, Chris?
I'm good, Fletch. How are you?
Oh, wonderfully well. Sensational little event, this.
Thank you. Yeah, we're having a great time. Absolutely. The first time we've attended a car show, basically. So.
And you've travelled a long way.
We have. Yeah, we have, and we came over with no problems at all. So.
All the way from South Australia, never.
The car was only finished on Sunday, so.
There's nothing like running to the wire.
No.
All right, Chris. Now I want to talk to you about the caravan. Now, years ago they used to pound these around and smash them up in derbies.
That's right, they did. We decided, about 4 years ago, we've got an FJ sedan as well. We decided that we'd like to get an old caravan to take to our car club events when we have campovers and so forth. So we sussed this one out in Victoria after the fires and spent 12 months restoring it. And all the upholstery and everything in there is original. A lot of blood, sweat and tears went into that as well, but nowhere near as much as a car.
So you haven't seen John for the last 15 months?
No, we see each other, but we see each other in the shed rather than in the house.
Chris, lovely catching up with you.
Thanks, Fletch.
As I said to John, it's a credit to you both, and it's people like you that make these events what they are.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
When we talk original, things don't get much more original than this. Have a go at this gorgeous car. FX Holden, built in Mossman Park, Perth, and the build number, would you believe, is just 316, which is pretty safe to say it's the oldest FX Holden here today. Okay, we've got Brian Hodges now, the director of the Australian Early Holden Federation. Brian, how are you?
Good, Fletch.
That's the way, mate. They reckon I've started a monster with classic Restos. Well, I think there's one here too with your old Holdens.
Certainly is, yeah. A lot of good cars there.
You happy with the day?
Oh, very happy. Yeah, great.
Don't they look absolutely splendid?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, all the different colours and models and modifications, beautiful.
I mean, they're so iconic to Australian motoring heritage. I mean, the first Holden was a big deal.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, it's Australia's first car, and the way it was made and the size of the engine, the interior. Yeah. It really suited the Australian market.
Yeah. Brian, tell us about your club real quick. Like, how many members have you got?
Our club, the hosted club of this event, is the FX FJ Holden Club of Australia, Sydney chapter, and we've got about 60 members, and we are based in Sydney, of course.
Okay. Got a website, Brian?
Fletch, the website is fxfjsydney.org.au.
There you go, fxfjsydney.org.au. Look them up on the website. Get in touch with these guys, because these clubs are fantastic, because they get behind the fraternity and it's what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. And we promote the use and the restoration of these type of cars.
Well, Brian, good on you, mate. Keep up the good work with what you're doing.
Thanks very much, Fletch.
No worries, mate. See how Shannons Insurance can help you by picking up the phone and giving them a call on 134646. You can also visit Shannons online at shannons.com.au. Welcome back. Australia's love affair with the first Holden quickly spread and carried through into 1953, where the launch of the FJ solidified the four-wheel footprint by adding more features, more chrome and a greater range of options to the original Holden. The company created Holden No. 2. The vertical grille was replaced by a horizontal chrome affair. There were even different hubcaps and bumpers. Although only a face-lifted version of the 48215 design, the FJ was the car that cemented Holden's position as the country's most popular car. The car hosted the synonymous 138 cubic inch grey engine and a trusty 3-speed manual gearbox. And almost 170,000 were built and distributed to many companies and proud Australian families. If there's an FJ Holden that's worthy today to be on Classic Restos, it's this one here. Hello Mick, how are you buddy?
Good afternoon Fletch, thanks for making the haul up here.
That's all right mate, not a problem. Up at 3:30 in the morning, 3.5 hour drive, beautiful weather, great cars, lovely people. Can't ask for better than that.
Can't ask for any better mate.
Now mate, splendid FJ. Now tell us quickly about the story with your brother.
Yeah, my brother retired in 2009 to restore the car for us, so we did it together. In 2012 February, got diagnosed with cancer, every organ under the lungs riddled with cancer. They gave him 6 months to live with chemo, and we got 9 out of him. In November we lost him. Pretty tough to lose a brother, Fletch.
Absolutely. The legacy continues with the car. Obviously it meant a lot to him as well.
Absolutely.
It's nice you've got memory of Joe on the back screen there. I don't think he's ever going to go away from you, Mick.
He'll be in that passenger seat wherever this car goes, Fletch.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to sit in the passenger side and do some filming, but I thought he might have been in there, so I didn't.
He would have moved over for you. Yeah.
Okay, look, it's sad news. It really is. And what do we say there? But, mate, you've got a fantastic car. And on that note, how does it drive?
Like a new one. Just he was Mr. Perfection, and this is a living tribute to him now. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, that's probably why he got the 9 months, mate, because the automotive interest helped to keep him in there.
Yes, he was a champion drag racer also, so he had the spirit right from the word go.
Mick, thanks for your time. I appreciate you turning up here at the Nationals. I mean, you'd be crazy if you didn't. And, you know, you haven't come on your own. You brought Joe with you, mate, and I think that's extra nice as well.
He's with me every minute of the day, Fletch.
Racing these old Holdens became interesting. One might suggest that they needed a calendar rather than a stopwatch, but you'd be surprised the sorts of speeds that these old cars were capable of doing. How about 11.7 seconds at 121 miles an hour? Here's a little bit more information about this particular car.
Hey, hi Fletch.
How are you, mate?
Good.
That's the way. You're the current owner of Harrops Howler. Tell us about the car.
Yeah, well, it was an 11.79 quarter mile car back in the 70s. We bought it as a wreck basically in 1993 and rebuilt it from that.
What a screamer of a unit.
Yeah, it's not a bad old unit. It drives like an absolute pig, but it's just got absolute history written all over it.
I mean, there's so much to be said for simplicity. I mean, have a look at me.
Yeah, I'm not arguing there, Fletch. It's basically just a basic FJ. The front end's been lowered. It's got ladder bars and a 9-inch rear end. It should have had a top loader in it or a clutch torque float, but we've sort of opted for a Trimatic. But it's pretty much back to its race configuration today.
John, tell us about the engine specs.
Yeah, well, originally when Ron Harrop had it, it had a home-built stroker crank in it. It's only just got a black motor crank machine down now for the 179 block. It's just got a bit of a head. It had a Duggan prepared head back then, or John Bennett I think actually built the head. It had offset valve guides and all the rest of the stuff because he worked for the Holden engine company. Yeah, it's not as serious a motor as it was back then, but it still gets up in boogies. So.
For 1968, I believe, too, in the late 60s, that's when it was in its prime, too.
Yeah, that's right. He used to have an EH that he raced, and Alan and Ron Moore told him to scrap the EH and, yeah, run the FJ, and then the rest is history.
So I keep on saying on Classic Restos about the old stuff and how the old stuff can just be made to go so well.
Yeah, exactly, because it's ultimate simplicity and the thing just keeps on going and going. Just gives ultimate pleasure for the ultimate time.
Good on you, John. You're the owner of an iconic vehicle here, mate. It must make you feel pretty special.
Yeah, really special, and I'm glad that I'm the present custodian of it.
Yeah, good on you.
Thank you.
Nice catching up with you, John.
Thanks for your time, Fletch.
We've moved from the FJs back to the last of the FXs again. We have Eddie, a genuine cab. How are you, mate?
Pretty good, thank you.
That's great. Eddie, tell us, what can you tell us about this fantastic car?
Well, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to build a taxi, so I decided an RSL taxi would have been ideal.
You just wanted to charge your mates, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that's part of it, yeah. I drove a taxi for a mate of mine when he couldn't do it back in the early 60s. And anyway, I fell in love with taxis, so I decided to make an RSL taxi.
Some observations. Look, you know, you've got the scuff plates around the back of the seat. Also some reinforcement on the ends of the bench seat as well.
That's the original taxi parts, and yeah, that's how they came, the early taxis.
Just extra protection for heavy duty areas.
Yeah, for kicking and, like heavy duty areas.
Where'd you get the meter from for the dash?
I bought that from a bloke at King's Cross, actually. Yeah. He had about 3 of them. Right. I bought them. Yeah, geez. A long time ago.
Always get a good deal at the Cross, eh, mate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, other observations too, like the taxi sign on the roof bar going across the roof there. You got the 12 volt or the 6 volt light either side of the sign. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, they had some sort of light there, but I didn't know what it was, so we made that one up.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. Now, the actual car before you made it into a taxi, was it a bit of a basket case, Eddie, or was it already a good body? Did you have a slingshot start?
No, it was reasonable. It was a taxi before, but it wasn't an RSL taxi that I know of. It didn't have too much rust in it, so it wasn't a full basket case, but it wasn't far off.
Well, look, complete with some of the NASCO accessories there. Got the knuckle plates, got the rail behind the seat there, and it's just glorious, mate. It's a real credit to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Before you go, Eddie.
Yes, mate.
How much would you charge me to take me to Orange?
Well, 1 and 6 per mile.
Speaking of which, he's even got the old coins under the dashboard. Got the leather pouch there with the notes in it. Oh, it's just so unique.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, everything's there.
Yeah. Good on you, Eddie. Thanks, mate.
Thanks a lot.
Lucky enough to have Amy now, daughter of Brian. How are you, Amy?
Good, thank you very much, Fletch. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Tell me, through your eyes, what do you think of such an awesome event?
Well, we're very impressed about the turnout. 250 something entrants, so I'm very impressed about that. My dad's very happy. But the day itself, we're blessed by the sun. Not even a cloud in sight. So we're pretty impressed.
Absolutely, that's great. I mean, I think it's just such a fantastic turnout. I mean, Bathurst itself here in regional New South Wales, it's a beautiful place as well. There's so much motoring heritage here, of course, with Mount Panorama, and just for all these cars to group here in Bathurst, that's extra special.
It sure is. It sure is.
All right, Amy, well, keep up the good work because these guys work hard. I mean, these people get here at 6 o'clock in the morning. They're doing 12, 13-hour days, and a lot of car events are the same. It's these people behind the scenes that help to stitch it all together. So good on you, Amy.
Sure is, because we're all helping each other. So that's what we all do.
Well, how awesome was that? You've seen just a piece of the 21st FX FJ Holden Nationals here in Bathurst, regional New South Wales, Australia. Now, if you want to find out about the happenings of the Nationals in 2013, do a Google, track them down, FX FJ Holden Nationals, because the unique thing is that they travel around from state to state. ClassicRestos.com.au is the website that you need to find out how my major sponsors can help you. There's also the merchandise section where the DVD sets are available, and now Classic Restos t-shirts as well. As I say at the end of every episode, no matter where you're watching the show from, whether it's online or via over 40 television networks in 4 countries, until next week, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like Classic Restos on Facebook. Facebook.com/Classic Restos TV. And episodes can be seen at Shannons.com.au. Well, there goes another Classic Restos. Thanks for riding along with me. For DVD sets and to contact the major sponsors, go to ClassicRestos.com.au. Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance and Main Lube Lubricants.